Central Warriors football with Coach Ryan Whittington on the team.
Warriors coach Ryan Whittington, brought to you by the Rick Nelson Agency and American Family Insurance. For a free comparison, call this team of licensed professionals at 970-241-0078. Ryan Whittington with us. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, Jim. How you doing?
Doing fine. I think you discovered what a lot of people have known about Montrose. They're pretty darn good. Number 3 team in the Cuthbert Preps football poll, the 4A rankings going into last weekend. There was their homecoming. They pick up the victory 50-14. They got on top early. They shut out your offense through the first 3 quarters. Just a tough night against that football team. So good up front. Then Womack is such a dynamic force at the running back position. Grijalva as well. Just a tough night for your football team. You knew that going in against Montrose.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Going into that game, talking to the team and with our coaching staff, you have to play almost a perfect game. You really have to control the ball offensively. You can't turn it over. You have to play real physical up front. And we didn't do those things early to give ourselves a chance to be competitive, at the end of the game. And that was disappointing because I thought, offensively that we could exploit some things, but we just turned it over and couldn't sustain drives. And, I have to credit to Coach Mearns and their team. They're a super physical team up front. And then, let those guys get after you up front and then, play solid coverage on the back end. But, I think, moving forward, I think we gained some confidence, in our passing game, with Asher moving forward, that I think things that we can build on. And that's what I told the kids, we flushed this game out now, and, it's a huge rivalry game with Palisade this week, and we've learned from some things that, we can get better at, and, obviously do a whole lot of things we can, improve on moving forward this week.
Well, with Asher Carter, 14 of 26, 218 yards, had 2 touchdown passes, 2 picks in the game. And when we talked with Brett Mearns, he said, look, we have to slow down Carter, and we're expecting Carter to come out and play well. Jaime Padilla, who they did not shut down either in that game, 5 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, it's good that for Brett Mearns that they acknowledge, and their football team, they did a good job for the most part, but still you were able to get some plays in the passing game against a pretty good Montrose defense. You might be a little bit late in that game, but still able to build some confidence in that passing game.
Yeah, we were, Jim. I think early we were a little shaky. Had some missed throws, some drop passes. And that's where, the whole thing with Montrose is that you let that offense get in a rhythm, then you're toast. They play great defense, don't get me wrong, but that team is driven by their offense. And, if you can't sustain drives and keep their offense off the field, then you have zero chance of winning. And early we had, too many 3-and-outs. We had the early turnover, and, they just, kind of jumped on us early, and that plays right into their hands. And with the momentum they have of homecoming and just as good a team as they are, it's a recipe for disaster. And then we witnessed it firsthand Friday night.
No doubt, they play great football. They win it 50-14 in their homecoming game. Central football coach Ryan Whittington with us. Injury-wise, coming out of that game, what shape is your team in heading into this battle for the War Dog Trophy with Palisade?
I think we came out. Thank goodness we came out pretty healthy. So, moving forward, I think, I like kind of where we're headed. We weathered the storm early in the season with, the teams that we played. And, I think we've got some guys that have stepped up and, are kind of fill their roles from, the injuries that we had early. And I think they're starting to feel more comfortable with where they're playing. So I kind of like where we are, heading into this, Palisade week. But again, you know how it is, Jim. You play these rivalry games. They're going to play extremely hard. Coach Romano is, obviously an extremely great coach who's going to have them well prepared. And, it's going to be, for lack of a better word, a dogfight on Friday night because, it is a rivalry game and they're so well coached. And, it's going to be a fun matchup for sure.
Central goes in 1-3, Palisade 2-2. You've won the last 3 War Dog trophies. You've kept that trophy in your case the last 3 games. Yeah. So there's certainly a lot of motivation for both of these teams battling for the bragging rights of the East End of the Valley. It's nothing like a rivalry game. We saw a great one last Friday with Grand Junction and Fruita Monument for the Black and Blue Trophy, and hope to have the same kind of environment Friday night, the battle for the War Dog Trophy.
Yeah, for sure, Jim. Our kids take a lot of pride in that game, as they do all the games. But, there's always a little bit of extra, motivation when there's a trophy on the line and it's the east end of the valley, and Palisade, just their the story or the tradition that they have, and with them being as good and Coach Romano being there for years, and just doing the things the right way and playing really great football. It's going to be a tremendous game. I think it's going to come down to who can force the most turnovers and who can control the ball, and who can capitalize on big plays when they're there to be made. So it's going to be an extremely fun game on Friday night.
It is a Palisade team that is also seen a lot of really good passing attacks already. Cully Feeney and Durango last Friday night game that they lost down in Durango. They faced Ty Reed and your old stomping grounds in Delta in that big victory against the Panthers early on in the season. So it is a defense that for Asher Carter, Jaime Padilla, and your receivers, they're familiar with teams that throw the football. So they've already got some work in against some pretty good passing games.
No, they have, Jim. They're like most well-coached teams and really good teams. They're built from the inside out. They're pretty big up front, and they got their front fours play tremendously hard. The Johnson kids, a really good, talented football player, and and then they have their secondary is much improved from last year. So I think again it's going to be a great challenge for our kids, and I think our kids are looking forward to the challenge, and just looking forward to having a great game on Friday night.
It's always about the running game for Joe and the Bulldogs. Cade Carter's got 213 yards and a touchdown. Caleb Johnson's got 3 touchdowns on the season. Branson Springer can make some plays at the quarterback spot, as most Palisade quarterbacks can. In the run game, he's got 3 touchdowns, 102 yards. Carter Haywood's got 150 yards. But the passing game has definitely, with Cam Tucker there, that was at Harding, of course, winning a Division II, a national championship previously. Cam taking a lot of things from the Harding passing game and incorporating with that run game. That Branson Springer, 242 yards, got a couple touchdowns this season. Of course, we had the exciting homecoming game, which was also heavy hearts for Nathan Umberger, who lost his father, and he had the big game in that game. He's got 134 yards and a touchdown that came in that homecoming game, and the win against Res Christian. They can throw the ball a little bit, and that passing game has now become not just a kind of a token part of their offense. It's become a little more of a viable threat with Branson Springer and Umberger and Embry and those guys.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. I think, obviously everything starts with their running game, but I think, what they're doing such a great job of this year is now when you're concentrating on that running game, they're capitalizing on the big play. I think before, they were a little bit of maybe a click off, on their passing game. They were just missing those. Now they're hitting those big plays. And that's a credit to, Coach Tucker and the things that he's brought. And the quarterback's played extremely well this year, and he's, when the targets are open, he's hit the majority of them. So, we're going to have to play extremely hard up front and then have very sound back-end coverage, because, again, if you don't, they'll take advantage, once you start creeping up, to try to take away that triple option game, they'll hit you over the top. So we got to make sure we're keeping our eyes extremely disciplined and playing extremely hard up front to, give ourselves a chance to win this game on Friday night.